Hey everyone, welcome to Saturday Night Popcorn. This is Jason.
And this is Kai, and we have another great discussion for you today. The movie of the day is Monster. It's from '03, so it's 20, almost legal to
Yeah.
drink, but still want to give everyone a spoiler warning.
Yeah, Monster from 2003. Patty was
Hmm.
sitting next to me. She was like, "Whoa, this movie's from 2003." I
Yeah,
was like, "Man, that's a long time ago."
can almost drink, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, from Patty Jenkins,
Patty
who brought you the wonderful Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 1984.
Jenkins.
Again, remind us of what our like theme is for this month.
Famous directors' debut films, or feature films, if you want to call it.
Yeah, debut feature films. Yeah.
Yeah,
So this is Patty Jenkins' feature film,
I
her
I
debut.
don't know how you go from this to Wonder Woman. I know that was a
Yeah,
conversation you and I had prior to kind of figuring out what movies to watch this month, but now that we've seen two and this is the most recent, I don't understand how Patty Jenkins was able to go from Monster to Wonder Woman. The
actually, and
topics are
it
drastically different.
drastically different from 1984 Wonder Woman. I think that was hot garbage.
Oh yeah.
1984 Wonder Woman. The first Wonder Woman, I think was fairly decent.
No, not
Nothing
in the fact, not in like rating wise. I just mean like the genre
the genre,
and
yeah,
the look and feel of the film. Like, yeah, it was 18 years. There was probably 15 to 18 year difference between those two films, but for her, like me watching Monster, it felt like a current Netflix docuseries. Like it
yeah,
didn't feel like a movie. Like it felt like, okay, I'm there with Eileen and Selby as Eileen is slowly becoming
evolving into
yeah, into a psychotic person.
the.
And yeah, I was along for that ride, but the first Wonder Woman is great, but you're not as, at least for me, I wasn't as attached as I was to Eileen.
I wonder again, or like we all kind of know that DC's kind of like going through this
Growing
change.
pains.
They have this growing pain, so to speak, and everything. James Gunn is like telling everyone just wait for the movies that I'm kind of like
Hmm.
headlining and stuff, and like so he James Gunn is like their Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
But I guess I don't know. Like, what is it? Like, do you think it's like it's kind of like Patty and I were like Patty was like it's a money thing no matter what. Like it like
Mm.
you see DC and you saw what success Marvel had, especially with like John Favreau can probably like look back on it like oh like I think he talks about it. We're like I was chosen to do Iron Man just because like no one else wanted to do it
Yeah.
probably, but now he's probably extremely wealthy and like more
Superstar.
successful because
Hmm.
of it and everything. So I don't know. You never know if Patty Jenkins just like made a decision that was like more of a career decision
Mm.
and not necessarily a film making decision
That
where
makes sense.
like someone like Martin Scorsese, I don't think he's ever swayed by like, oh, I want to make a film that someone tells me like, oh, you'll be a great director for this or whatever.
Hmm.
He makes whatever the hell he wants and then is successful because of that.
Exactly.
So I think Monster shows that Patty Jenkins can write and direct
Yeah.
a very good movie,
Yeah.
and probably to the subject matter that like it's gritty and everything. It almost kind of like I 2003. I don't know if it's like the film. Like we're just talking like having like a brief
Hmm.
discussion about like Kodak film and everything before this, but like it's gritty and everything. Like you can
Yeah. There's
see like
texture to it.
yeah. I think that's
Yeah.
like what I never understood what texture meant and everything.
Yeah.
I heard Tarantino and yourself say that, and I'm
Hmm.
like I don't know what that means, but I think you get it with this, where like you
Yeah.
see there's like some life to the image.
Which is weird. Like, I think even when I learned about texture in films and TV shows, I didn't really understand when I heard it. It wasn't until I saw something and I was like,
Mm,
oh, I get it now. Like there's a different vibe and feel to a film or to a movie that's filmed in film. That was a lot of F's, but
But sadly, sadly like texture
Mhm.
and the like the way this film looks like is can be defined as texture, but I think
Mhm.
nowadays can be misconstrued as like, oh, that's just an old movie.
Yeah, yeah.
It's because it's dated. It's not like high res and everything.
Hmm.
But back
Everything's
then,
sharp and crisp.
yeah, and that was probably like a cinematography like decision too. Like, hey, let's do like an actual like real film
Hmm.
recording of this movie, and it it gives it that life and everything. Because
Yeah,
like you said, like you're like a third person with that like Thelma and Louise type of deal where like they're kind of on the run and everything. You feel it, and you
yeah. You're a
feel
fly
the
on the wall.
intensity of like all the killings that they show inside of the movie too.
That is because there's so many movies that are more gruesome than this one,
Mm-hmm.
but there was just something about watching, like seeing her emotion before she killed these people, and then watching her like shoot these people or whatever it may be. It hit differently than other movies about similar subject matters.
Yeah, I I don't know, and looking like I did some research while I was like laying in bed after watching the movie and stuff.
Hmm.
And so we all know like that FBI investigator that like coined the name the serial killer.
Hmm.
Um, he had this like weird thing that like he never would justify that a woman could ever be a serial killer because he never like thought that serial killers if because typically he said that women would kill multiple victims either because they killed multiple of their husbands or
Hmm.
there's some financial gain to their killings. So he never
Damn.
like described women as serial killers, but he said Eileen is the first time he would categorize a woman, Eileen specifically, as a
Hmm.
serial killer because there was that justification that it wasn't for material gains, even though in the movie and some of the story you see it, but there was some gratification to it also. I think that's
Yep.
what like defines in his mind a serial killer because it's like there's some gratifying effect to it. It was interesting. I was like, man, that's kind of like it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. That yeah. I didn't expect that. I assumed that anybody can be a serial killer.
And
And I guess they could, but that
yeah,
definition and that distinguishing of the two makes sense.
essentially by his definition, Eileen is the only woman serial killer
Wow.
technically. I have to read. Granted, my Wikipedia research.
Somebody could have went and adjusted it real quick.
Yeah, I know, right? but but yeah, like they only what like she was convicted of killing six people, but there's seven victims, and in the movie they only showed three, right? There's
Is
like
it
only
only
three
three?
murders.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was three or four that they
So
showed in it.
I think so. It's three or four, yeah.
Yeah.
But but yeah, you felt like that first one is intense.
Dude.
Like Patty was like reacting next to me like that's real intense. And it's like and also talking about the shot, the way it's shot, it puts
Mhm.
you at her level too.
Yes.
And so it allows you to kind of like be in her perspective.
That first one got me. Like the first, it was so unexpected for her to just wake up and you're just like in it with her as she's like trying to figure out where am I, what's going on, and then everything plays out and you're just there at, like you said, at the same level as her, so you feel like you're her. Yeah,
Mhm.
that one got me.
And also it allows that mystery too because like the guy walks away from the scene
Hmm.
and you and Eileen are
Or
also
struggling.
in this misunderstanding as to, like what's like where is this person and stuff.
Yeah.
So you don't know. And I immediately react when she found all the stuff in the back of the car. I was like, did she like? Is this like the first time that like a serial killer comes into contact with another serial killer? And
Mm.
like, but like, I was trying to look up if whether it confirmed like was that dude a serial killer?
Yeah.
And like, has that ever happened in like history where like do they like walk it like have they ever interacted with each other at some point? Like, you think they like, oh, you're weird, like you're a
There's like
little weird,
yeah,
yeah, and then like they don't
there's
like,
probably a vibe.
yeah, like are they like gang members? Like, this is your territory. Like, do I just like go somewhere else?
Let me go, because you hear like, especially with all these docuseries now, you hear about regular people's interactions with serial killers. Like I think in the Ted Bundy one, there's a lady that survived it that was in the car with him, and she was like, "Yeah,
Mhm.
there was this vibe, and I knew something was wrong." So I wonder if that same thing occurred. Well, Eileen wasn't really a serial killer at that point because that was the first
That
person
was the
she
first
killed.
one, yeah.
So
Yeah,
there
that
may not
like
have
I
been
guess
that.
like what eventually turned into a serial killer. Like maybe
Yeah,
at
like
that
he
moment
triggered it.
she, yeah, she didn't.
Hmm.
Yeah, he probably triggered it. Yeah, where it kind of led to those the hit the kind of,
Intrusive thoughts.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
But I was like, man,
that was
that's like
intense.
crazy interesting that like just seeing that and everything, and then like, but afterwards you see like the negative effects of everything. Like
Hmm.
you saw, I think no matter what, the biggest shining star of this movie is the acting of both
Oh, dude,
Charlize
yeah.
Theron and then also what's her name? The one my Patty was like, oh, it's like that's Wednesday from,
Oh, Selby, yeah.
yeah,
Christina Ricci,
yeah.
yeah,
So I think like no matter what, like them two, like just knocked it out of the park. It's like
yeah,
you have them physically look different, like
yeah.
it's like whoa, like I don't know, like I'm looking at like Patty was like I'm looking at a different person.
Yeah, even the manner, like the whole thing, the mannerisms, everything. You're just
Yeah,
like, oh, this isn't that actor. Like this is the character they're playing.
I wonder how much like how what she like
How do you
what did
get
she
into that
like base
role?
the character off? Like, did you find?
There may be interviews. It seems like when somebody's classified as a serial killer, people want to understand them, so they interview them, and there's all kinds of recordings. So there may be some for Eileen because she was in jail for 12 years, so they had
Yeah,
time to
right.
interview and figure out like, hey, why'd you do this?
Yeah, it's just like she got a lot out of those interviews. Then she was able
If
to watch
yeah,
those and like,
just soak it all in. Like, okay, this is me now. Let me get this
what did
blotchy
I?
skin. Let me start changing my diet and become a different person.
Yeah, that's what Patty was like. That's like her real body, right? It was like she like I was like,
Hmm.
I don't think there's any prosthetics and everything. Like she gained weight for this movie.
Yeah, I think she
It
Christian
seemed
Bale'd
like, yeah, yeah, right.
it. Full meta.
but but man, it's like I think that is what kind of like draws you into this movie is
Hmm.
how good her
Acting.
acting is in
Well,
terms
she
of
did win
like,
for it.
yeah, she right, she
Hmm.
won like
She got an
best
Oscar.
actress or something.
Yeah.
So it's like you, and no matter what, Charlize added to that, but there's almost like that 50-50 kind of like combination. It's like the actress or the actor that
Yeah.
puts in the time and the work, but also this is where Patty Jenkins kind of like comes in and adds that extra 50% to like,
Hmm.
hey, to direct it correctly and stuff.
The look and feel, and yeah, getting into the
Yeah.
character and watching them. I had a question about the movie. So I think it was the second kill. Uh, so she every single time she kills somebody, she takes the car.
Mm.
But I think it was the second one. She killed the person, took the car, but then she goes back to be with Selby, and she's like, "Oh, we have enough money to get a place." And it didn't seem like she had that much money, so I was wondering, like, like they had a whole house. So I'm wondering how
Yeah.
expensive rent was back then, where you
I
could
know
murder
she
somebody
threw
and
the
be like,
money, and I
"All
was
right,
like, "That's a
cool,
bunch of
yeah,
dollars." Like, it's like,
exactly." This takes $10 to get an apartment now or a house. Like
but also this is Florida, so
that
Florida's
is
like a
also true. That is true. I didn't think about
Florida's
that
the
part.
Wild West even still today.
You got $3, we got you a house.
Yeah,
All
we'll take it.
right.
I know they had
But
like
that
a
was
whole
yeah.
house and everything, a
Yeah.
kitchen, living room. Man, I don't know, but so the story kind of like you kind of like have to elaborate a little bit, I guess.
Yeah. At least in my eyes, he should have been like, how much did she get? Because Now they have a house.
Yeah, right.
And
I
Selby was so nonchalant about all these new cars coming in. Where'd you get it? Oh, my friend. It's like, we're in a new city. She doesn't have friends in every city. She's a prostitute. Come on.
which ends up being one of the smoking guns for her is that
Hmm.
what I found out is that they found one of the cars
The one that
and
they wrecked, right?
well that led up to it too is that they wrecked
Hmm.
it and that's how they got a description of both of them.
Oh yeah, that lady, the older lady.
Yeah, that's how they got like the drawings of them. But then one
Hmm.
of the cars that she left abandoned, she left a fingerprint,
Oh,
and that's where they were able to kind of like connect her to it and stuff.
oh wow.
But and then I forget Selby.
Hmm.
That's a different name. I don't than the person because I think in real life it was like Tylee or something.
Okay.
Uh, her first name started with a T.
Yeah.
Um, but but yeah, it's like that. Just leaving cars around and stuff, and like taking
Yeah.
the car. Do you like? I guess you like don't know what to do in this situation, but it's like
But the one thing I did like about the movie is you felt that. You felt that this was new territory for her. So she's trying to figure it out. Like she has that urge to to kill. And so she continues to do it to make money. But she's also lost throughout that whole situation of like, okay, I've killed this person now. What do I do? Now we have a car we're dealing with, but there's a body. Okay, hey, we're not in the news yet, so we're good. I can continue doing this. But then you see that transition as soon as she saw, or I think Selby told her, like, it's over. Oh, no, she saw the news report first in the
yeah.
paper. And then Selby told her later, like, I think it's over.
Can you
And
imagine
that's
that
when you're
crap? You
like,
see yourself on
dang,
TV and you're like, "Fuck,
like, ugh. How do I
we're
get, like, how do
fucked."
you get out of that? You're just done. Yeah.
You do what she did, and sadly, because they wanted to take her down too, and so
Hmm.
they said that they'll give her immunity if she was able to coerce
Oh, Eileen, yeah.
Eileen into saying that she did the killings and stuff.
I love that scene, by the way. Like
Yeah,
them just
I liked
showing
how they
Selby
framed it.
first.
Yeah,
Yes.
because you kind of you get that sense where it's like where Eileen is recognizing like this is a weird conversation, but
Hmm.
you don't understand as to like why it's a weird conversation
And
until
then they
they pan.
slowly, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like they pull out and pan over, and you're like,
and it's intense
got
because
it.
there's like five people there.
Yeah. And Selby's just chill on the phone as she's ruining her girlfriend's life.
Yeah, right. And then the impact. I like the ending too. Granted, it's not a spoiler. It's like
Yeah, it's real
public
life. Yeah.
knowledge or it's like
You can
real
Google
life
it.
that you can look it up. But the ending is impactful too because like the moment she points at her
Oh, yeah.
to to identify her as the killer,
Mhm.
everything's silent until she has that that outburst at the end when they sentence her and
Yeah.
everything like you see everyone talking and stuff and they're like kind of going through the trial but everything's silent until she kind of like I guess almost processes like what happened and stuff
Yeah.
like what she was sentenced to.
And I like that it was short and, well, it's dark, but I like that that scene was short and sweet because there's
Mm-hmm.
so many movies that involve courtrooms that they focus on the trial so much. Like, you know the outcome of the trial. You know she's going to go to, or whoever, whatever the movie is, you know that person's going to go to prison. And it seems like they just focus on it, and there's just a close up of this person reacting to the verdict, and it doesn't seem like there's much emotion in that as you're
Mm-hmm.
watching it. But this one, because you see Selby point her out, you know the impact of like, oh, she's done. She's going to prison and she may be executed. And then you cut to Eileen and you see no reaction for a second, but you see everything moving in the background. And then there's that realization of like, oh, I'm done. This is it. This is the end of my
Mm-hmm.
life. That was more impactful than other films I've seen inside courtrooms that I really
Yeah,
enjoyed.
I think everyone believes that their courtroom scenes can be like the OJ scenes and
Yeah.
everything like but in real life, that OJ courtroom scene was like that and stuff, but
Hmm.
not every single courtroom is like that. And so, or like, it's not such. such a majesty of like,
You
oh,
know,
like
Johnny
we'll just like,
Cochran.
yeah. So none of it's like that. It was just OJ being special and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think everyone believes that they can kind of get a scene like those in their movies and stuff. But it's like, I think this is like a perfect way. And yeah, like you said, they overdraw them too, where it's like,
Hmm.
I mean, we kind of know like it's you can read it that she was sentenced to death and everything, and it
Yeah.
ends it with that and stuff. And the white screen, I think it's actually like a nice kind of ending where it's like
Mm.
it ends with just a white screen and some black
Yeah.
text that she was executed and stuff. And all that. But it's
Dark
pretty
but short and
intense.
sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That I the ending, you almost kind of like believe that they're not gonna like deal with any of like the sentencing and stuff because it's
Hmm.
like so close to the end. You're like looking at the timeline. You're like,
Yeah.
I got like 20 minutes left, maybe or like 10 minutes. And so, but the ending is just like there, and then it's done.
That got me too, because as I was watching it, getting closer to the end, I was like, I hope they don't, because you've seen so many movies in courtrooms. You're like, they're gonna do it just like all the other films, and then yeah, you see, oh, I got 10 minutes left, 15 minutes left.
Hmm.
Like, there's no way they're gonna touch on the court scenes, and then they did it, and they did it quick, impactful. Okay, cool. The movie's over. I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
it was good.
yeah.
I enjoyed
I liked it.
it. Hmm.
Uh,
I'm mad I
another
didn't watch
thing,
it sooner.
right?
Didn't watch this
It's
movie
like
sooner. Yeah.
yeah, it's like this was honestly the first time I've seen it, and I
Hmm.
know it was like booked as like a an award winning movie.
Yeah.
In 2003, I don't know what people believe it is now,
Yeah.
um, but like I enjoyed the first like 30 minutes. I wrote a note to myself like the first 30 minutes
Hmm.
is like a calm before the storm because you know like you kind of know going in that like this is a serial killer
Yeah.
and everything, and so you're like you're expecting like chaos from like
Death, death,
moment
death.
one. Yeah, and it's not. It's like this like kind of like stumbling over like a
Mm.
relationship type of deal, and then you're like, okay, this is gonna get like crazy afterwards. I think,
Yeah.
and it does.
I
So it's good.
I love that build up, because it felt
Hmm.
like I'm gonna say it again, but yeah, it felt like a docu series, but like the Dahmer Netflix show.
Hmm.
Like, it wasn't just straight into killing. Like, you got to. I like that you got to meet the character and understand the character's background a little bit, and just that they're not a serial killer in the beginning. They're trying to understand and trying to get through life just like anybody else, and then a circumstance or a situation occurs, and that's what triggers them to become a different person. I like that they kind of dragged that out or showed us that first, and then she just goes haywire.
And that's where I kind of find it like a negative in it because like you brought up the Dahmer thing, and
Mm-hmm.
granted, no matter what, it's like with this stuff being real life, I think it's difficult to make things like this where without the possibility of being like seen as like you're gonna like glorify the killings of seven individuals
Yeah,
in this film, and Dahmer, it's like I don't know how many it was,
too many to
but
count.
and then you're trying to profit off of it. Seems like you're trying to profit off of it.
Mm-hmm.
Where Dahmer was like criticized as like you profited off of the killing of primarily black homosexual men.
Mm-hmm.
Where here it's like you're profiting, but you showed like a different light. Like you almost, I feel like this movie tried to have you understand the human aspect of things
Yeah.
with Eileen, and it's I would categorize this movie as a love story, most of
Mm-hmm.
all, as like a like kind of like a romance, if you want to say
Yeah.
that. Uh, but I feel like you come to the same conclusion is that you inevitably try to humanize these individuals when there's families out there that will not believe that.
For sure.
And so you're almost like it's almost like that separation between art and artist. It's like or like subject. It's like you're making art, so to speak, with a film,
Mm-hmm.
but the subject matter is real life for other individuals.
Yeah.
So you're trying to like I think this one did it better in terms of Monster did it better in terms of like showing the human aspect and everything.
Yeah.
showing the love interest, and how a love interest can be almost blinded by that
Yeah.
to their love interest killing a bunch of men. But you end up coming to the same conclusion that like you elevated this individual who is a bad person and was sentenced to whatever they were sentenced to for a reason. And so where Dahmer, you kind of like you made them like like
Celebrity almost.
a celebrity, a good
Yeah.
looking person and stuff,
Yeah.
and like and all this stuff. And so you had, but that's also another thing that like a lot of people like some people like fall in love with these like serial killers and like prison and
Yeah.
stuff, and so like that I guess like that kind of like leans into that. But yeah, I think that's like a negative where it's like you inevitably come to the same conclusion that you glorify these
Yeah.
individuals.
But I think the one thing that, at least in my eyes, the difference, um, Monster showcased these murders and showcased the serial killer, but the fact that they didn't show the real people's photos. Like Dahmer, at least the gripe I had with Dahmer was the fact that they're like, oh, hey, we're going to also show you what these people actually look like at the very end. Like you watch 10 episodes and it's like, okay, hey, we want to commemorate all these people. So here's a real photo of them. I think if they would have left that out of the series, people would have felt differently about it. I think if they would have just left it as, yes, we know these people were killed, which is very sad, but if they would have just left it as, okay, this is the TV show, we're showcasing what occurred, and then maybe had some sort of text blurb at the end, it would have been different than actually showing the picture of these real people to have their family members kind of relive what occurred.
Yeah, it's difficult because you kind of
Yeah.
go through this like gruesome depiction of everything, and then
Hmm.
you see the real person that's.
Yeah.
But again, it's like a remembrance of like they were also people too. Like here's
Yeah.
them. But so it's like I think it's like a lose lose situation all the
It's a
time when there's
fine
like
line. Yeah.
yeah when there's like a real story behind everything, especially stuff like this,
Yeah.
where like a lot of people don't believe or can't fathom someone killing another person,
Yeah.
but it happens and stuff, and so it's like
Yeah.
that's a difficult point of the situation.
We pick these tough topics.
I know, right?
I didn't. I didn't really have any gripes.
That's like my only gripe. That was like
Yeah.
it's hard. After the film, I was like, that was very enjoyable. It was well
Yeah.
done and everything, and I think it's a very powerful debut for Patty Jenkins.
Yeah. Like to come out the gates with this is just like
I think
it's
Patty
insane.
needs to like get down to, and then Patty's probably behind me, like she's talking about me. But I think Patty Jenkins needs to, I think, stay with this. I don't know. I guess like the same kind of tone.
Mm,
Almost like I would believe like Patty if she did more things like this, you can consider at the same quality and stuff as
mm-hmm,
Monster, and they kind of like progressed, like a David Lynch style and stuff, and
mm,
like we look at these other directors that make these like suspenseful thriller and all that stuff. I think Patty could have been very good, and whether or not that's in the future, but
yeah. Well, I think
the
she didn't she
Almighty
do
God,
Zero Dark 30?
did she? See, that's the thing where it's like,
Yeah.
why go out of your way to like do this? I don't know. I feel like the like Patty was like my Patty,
Hmm.
uh, was
She did
like
not do Zero
you can
Dark
be the
30.
director or the writer of these like superhero movies, but ultimately Marvel or DC are the director and storyteller of those movies.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's more so it's like, all right, like they're gonna sit down with somebody, like we're gonna pay you this much, you will be the director, but we're gonna tell you everything you do. And it's like whoever says yes to that, then all right, well you're gonna make a lot of money, I guess. And so
Okay, I was wrong. She did not direct Zero Dark 30. Catherine
no,
Bigelow did. So
okay.
apologies. But yeah, it seemed like that just fit. Like she was the perfect fit for this film to
Yeah,
direct it and write it. Yeah. So I don't know
yeah.
how
I was
long.
like wondering because I saw that she wrote it at the end.
Mhm,
I was wondering. It's like, all right, like, did she believe with 1984?
mhm,
She wrote and
and
directed and
directed.
produced that movie. So
Yeah.
I was thinking like, all right, maybe like she directed Monster. I forgot she wrote it, and then
Mhm,
directed Wonder Woman. It's like, did she believe like, oh, writing seems pretty easy, right? Like, like those writers kind of can do it. It's almost like the thing right now. It's like the writers are on strike because like they're not paid at the level of like directors or
yeah.
actors and stuff and actresses, but they're almost the reason why these things are like good.
Hmm.
So you can do like a director is only good because of the script and the words that are being told during the story,
Yeah.
and then the writer is good because like the director can like visualize the story and stuff. But so it's at that fine line where it's like why there's not that equality between them, I guess,
Well,
when
and you have to take
directing
into
a show.
consideration the outside elements of it, like the producers that, well, the producers and then even the network
Mm,
has final say. Like the director may be like, "Hey, I want to make this." Like even with the DC and the Snyder cuts, like to see the Snyder cut of Justice League versus the Justice League that we saw in theaters, vastly different. And that
yeah,
was probably heavily because of DC being like, "Nah, it's too dark for us," and possibly producers being like, "No, we need to go this direction." Like, yeah, we like your vision, we like what you did for these other movies, but we're trying to go on a lighter, brighter look and tone to our films. So that could have been how Wonder Woman 84 turned out the way it did.
maybe, yeah, they were just trying to change the theme of everything and then
Hmm.
the look of everything midway through the universe. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah. They're trying to like figure it out. Like you're in the
yeah,
plane flying, trying to build the plane.
yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
It's above our pay
But
grade.
with this, what'd you end up like giving it as a rating?
4.5 or 5. I didn't actually
Nice,
put my final rating in the letterbox, but 4.5 or 5. I truly
nice.
enjoyed it.
I gave it a
Yeah.
4. I was like going back and forth between a 4 and a 4.5.
Hmm.
Um, and I ended up kind of settling on a 4 and everything because I was like, honestly, this is like a love story. It's
Hmm.
not anything different than that and stuff. I think. And so, but it's a very good movie. Strong acting on
Hmm.
both their parts too. Um, and I think Patty will agree with you. She was like kind of like on a 4.5 to 5. She was like
Yeah.
she really enjoyed this movie. Um, so I gave it a 4,
You're not a
but
lovey dovey guy, is all you're saying. It's okay.
yeah, there you go. But would you buy this for your personal movie collection and would you recommend it?
So, this is one of the movies that is weird for me. So I truly enjoyed it, but this is one of the movies where I'm like, okay, I watched it once. I don't need to see it again.
Mm,
So I would recommend it. Yes. Buy it. No. I've seen it once. Maybe if I'm trying to figure out like a short film idea or like if I become a famous director in the future, then I need a reference to something. I may have to go back and watch it. But as of right now, I've seen it once. I'm good. I don't need to watch it again.
yeah, I get that. I get that where it's like, okay, it's one and done, and also you're not gonna find anything more to this story by watching
Yeah.
it again.
Unless you're
And
like watching it for references to
yeah,
something you're trying to create.
so definitely recommend it to someone who's
Yeah.
never seen it or is a fan of like Charlize Theron and all that stuff.
Netflix
Wants to see,
docuseries. Yeah.
yeah, stuff
Murder.
like that, and
Yeah.
crime
Yeah.
stuff and everything. It's like a big thing right now. But this one is a very good movie. It's done well. It's done well by a good director, and so to
Hmm.
speak, and everything. We can say that she probably has a good future, hopefully. Unless Kai comes in and just stomps all over and becomes
Hey,
a
let's
great
take it
director.
over.
But yeah, no, I think we both really enjoyed this and would recommend this
Hmm.
movie to anybody who's never seen it. If someone says like, "Oh, I want to see like a movie that's a love story, but also has some action, or like not action, but like some
Some crime.
thrilling suspense,
Yeah.
crime, monster," I think is a good one if they've never seen it.
Yeah.
So definitely recommend. And but maybe not buy
Yes.
it. Just watch it once.
Watch it once and you're good.
Yeah,
It's
there
gonna
you
sit on. Yeah, it's
go.
gonna stay with you.
All right, Kat, you want to take us out?
Yeah. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Saturday Night Popcorn. I'm Kai.
And I'm Jason, and we'll be back next week for another one.